What's happening, ladies and simps? My name is KotyTang. We begin episode 4 with an establishing shot indicating that we are no longer in New York City. We are in fact now deep in the jungle. We're introduced to the characters and we, as the audience, can immediately realize that we are now in another dimension, as this is unequivocally not the same cast we saw in New York City. But it is definitely Knuckles, Rouge, and Big the Cat. These three are attacked by something in the jungle and we jump over to Sonic arriving in the dimension through a portal in the sky. Sonic arrives in a completely new area with a brand new outfit. Again, those mandates really do not apply to this show. The IDW team must be quaking in their seats watching how much this show can do that they apparently are not allowed to do. Sonic questions if he's in a different area of New York City, specifically a city park. He questions what happened to his friends, then he watches Rouge, Big, and Knuckles fly into the sky. Upon reaching the three, Sonic questions why everybody looks so different and wonders where 9 is. The three decide to attack Sonic, claiming he wants to steal their supplies. Sonic flies at a tree and finds a new use for his gloves in a very Wolverine fashion. As Sonic runs away, he tries to remind the three that they're supposed to be friends and fighting Mr. Dr. Eggman. He explains everything they had been doing up to that point in New York City. And look, I can't ignore this. Sonic is extremely dumb for no reason. There's no way he does not realize he's in another dimension and thinks that these three are the same Rouge, Knuckles, and Big. He even came to the realization in the last episode that the shards are all broken and that New York City was a brand new dimension in itself. I can forgive it the first time. When Sonic first arrived in New York City, it's believable that he didn't understand that he was in a new dimension yet. But upon seeing that not a single person even knows who he is, he doesn't realize that something is up and continues believing that Eggman just took over Green Hill, then later finds out that he in fact is in another dimension, and then he completely forgets it in the next episode. Sonic is way too stupid in this show. And then they make it even worse, and now it's confusing. Once Sonic realizes that he's in another dimension, he immediately understands that he's in another Green Hill. So Sonic is extremely stupid, but also has the brain power to deduce that the entire dimension is actually Green Hill Zone again, without a single landmark this time that he can recognize. This place is surrounded by dense jungle, and they're standing on some sort of tree village. He can't possibly notice right off the bat that there is anything even remotely Green Hill about this place. Sonic is too stupid to realize everybody is completely different, but not too stupid to immediately recognize how the dimension works. But not to worry, let me make it even worse. Sonic feels like he can't figure out everything he just figured out on his own. So he says that Tails would be able to help him figure out what he literally just figured out. However, in this dimension, Tails is a rabid fox, and he's first introduced flying through the sky as well. Sonic rushes over to save Tails from falling back into the jungle. Rouge talks about utilizing Sonic to distract some monster that lurks in the jungle, and while he's distracting this monster, they can go grab whatever supplies they need. Rouge thanks Sonic for his help in saving Tails. Alright, so let's meet our new friends. This dimension is known as the Boss Cage Maze. And in the Boss Cage Maze, we have Mangy, a rabid fox that apparently has never learned to fly, Prim, the leader of the group, it's Rouge but now she's a shady tree person, Hangry, it's Big the Cat and his name says everything you need to know about his character. Finally, there's Gnarly, clearly taking enormous inspiration from Styx the Badger from the Sonic Boom series, meaning he believes that somebody is always watching them and is heavy on conspiracies. The versatility of the new cast is put to the test here, with everybody adapting to these new iterations of the characters and shifting their personalities, especially when it comes to Ashley Ball and Vincent Tong in this dimension. Just to note as well, Vincent Tong actually voices 3 members of the Egg Council, Dr. Deep, Dr. Don't, and Dr. Babble. So the show presents him as easily the most versatile member of the cast here. Everybody changes their voices and mannerisms perfectly, fitting each variation of the character, and I was immediately looking forward to how they'll voice even more versions of themselves in the future. Sonic asks if any of the tree people know about the Paradox Prism. They look at him confused, but once Sonic talks about a crystal shard, Prim says that she knows exactly what he's talking about, but is obviously lying so that she can use his abilities. We learn that the tree people are struggling to survive and have been forced out of the jungle by the monster. They have just been eating bark all day. Apparently even Big, who, well, just looking at him, it's hard to believe that he's also just eating bark and half a berry every day.
You took my only food! Now I'm gonna starve!
Sonic agrees to help out the tree gang and help them in getting resources. Upon entering the jungle, Sonic sees the first remnant of Green Hill Zone, the Loop-de-Loop. It simply cements to the audience that every dimension going forward will be a variation of Green Hill in some way. Which also brings up the fact that everything that was in Green Hill Zone at the time the Paradox Prism went off is extremely likely to be in every dimension in some form. Eventually, the gang are attacked by the monster that is hiding in the trees. Sonic jumps into the action but loses the monster almost immediately. Sonic finds a berry patch, and before he can tell the tree gang, they're sent flying up back to the tree village. Sonic now faces the monster himself. The thing that's been attacking Sonic is revealed to be some sort of giant prehistoric flicky. Sonic fights off the monster as the tree gang watch from up high. Sonic defeats the flicky by making it run into a tree. Prim shouts down to Sonic, warning him that the flicky is not the monster that's been attacking them, rather, it's the monster's pet. The real monster begins attacking Sonic, and it's revealed to be this universe's Amy. That's two evil Amys in one now. Amy and Sonic begin their fight, eventually ending with Sonic being knocked up to the tree village, but he descends into the jungle once more to fight Amy. Sonic refuses to fight her, and instead opts to explain what's going on. A very hard contrast from when he was talking to Shadow. Amy doesn't listen to anything Sonic has to say and reveals her name to be Thorn Rose. After she knocks Sonic away, Sonic finds some flickies stuck in the mud, and Thorn watches as Sonic saves the flicky. Seeing that Sonic actually cares about nature to some extent allows Thorn to see reason momentarily. She explains that the jungle's resources were abused by the tree gang. Thorn notices that Sonic's shoes are glowing, and the way it's glowing reminds her of something called the Great Green. Sonic asks Thorn to help him find the crystal for this universe, as it will help him get back home. She agrees to help Sonic so long as finding it makes him leave. While they're walking to the crystal, Sonic tries to reason with Thorn into letting the tree gang use the jungle's resources, but she doesn't want to listen to Sonic defend them, as she sees the people as scavengers. Eventually, Sonic and Thorn reach the Great Green, which is a giant palm tree. Sonic uses his new claws to dig underground and eventually finds the shard's location. Remembering that he can't personally touch the shard himself, Sonic wraps it in a leaf and brings it to the surface. Thorn steals the shard from Sonic and infuses it into her hammer. Important to note that every other character is able to directly touch the shard, except for Sonic, which will definitely be important to remember later. Sonic and Thorn begin their battle, ending the episode. Let's clear something up with this episode. Every single character has a different backstory here, and the world is so different to the point that not a single moment could possibly be linked to the original timeline. That is how you do an alternate universe without bringing up a load of unanswered questions. New York City is supposed to be a direct copy of the real Green Hill Zone. The only differences are that Eggman has a council, and he's turned Green Hill Zone into the Eggman Empire, yet the other differences are apparently Chaos Emeralds don't exist, rings don't exist, and flickies don't exist. It's an extremely contradictory dimension, and while some of you may find it fine, I think it's important to note that they haven't changed nearly enough to make the claim that New York City City is supposed to be so far removed that nothing is recognizable. I'm convinced that the only thing that exists in that dimension is New York City and nothing else. Boss Cage Maze, on the other hand, is completely different, and it's entirely believable that there is more to this dimension than Green Hill Zone. It's easy to see how there's an entire world left unexplored by the cast. Boss Cage Maze is Green Hill Zone. However, aside from the foundation of the universe and the characters involved, it borrows next to nothing from the real timeline. Nobody's character could possibly be linked back to who they originally were, and everything is so far removed from what actually is that these timelines could never converge properly without massive disconnects. There's a clear lore and history that doesn't need to be explored, as it's perfectly believable that a vast array of timeline differences exist to the point that Green Hill Zone is an overgrown jungle and every character is a savage caveman-like person. Everything can be explained here without it seeming like it's been forced upon through ignoring the actual specifics of the canon. As long as every other dimension follows this philosophy, every dimension can be crafted excellently. That's all the time I've got for you guys. If you would be so kind as to leave a like and comment any thoughts you may have below, and be sure to subscribe to my channel for more Sonic content. My name is KotyTang, and I'll see you guys in the next one.